Paddy Pimblett versus Justin Gaethje will not only headline the first numbered event in the Paramount era, but it's for the interim title, the interim lightweight title. I would have been fine if this fight was just like a regular fight on a numbered event or a fight night, but interim title and it's headlining the first event of the Paramount era. The UFC has become the WWE, and Armin Sarukian just got off an interview with Brett Okamoto.
And Paddy gonna fight with Ilya Topuria in January. So, but I didn't know they're gonna do interim title versus Gaethje and Paddy. But I knew that UFC wants to do Ilya versus Paddy, and on my mind, I didn't think like it's something happened, even if I knock him out, because they already set up that all things. But at the end of the day, Ilya didn't fight, and I think this is UFC game plan. It's not like a family issue or something. It's they want to make star Paddy Pimblett and to bring him to fight for the title with Topuria has a bigger name and make it like a big fight, like a kind of Khabib versus Conor, but they're not even if he got the belt.
He said that they had already had Ilya Topuria versus Paddy Pimblett planned for January 5 months ago. That's why he called out Ilya Topuria to see if, he can get himself into the mix. But, yeah, sorry, buddy. You a little too late. UFC don't like you. But the fact that Paddy Pimblett and Justin Gaethje... First of all, I gotta say this. Paddy Pimblett has the most Dana White privilege out of any fighter I've ever seen. Go look at Paddy Pimblett's resume and tell me, how does that win you a title shot? How does that even win you an interim title shot? Let's look at his resume. Luigi Vetramini, to start off your UFC debut. They give you somebody, 2 losses, a win in the UFC, In the Qatar card, Paddy Pimblett's teammate was fighting Nurullo Aliyev for his UFC debut. Nurullo Aliyev. We've seen a lot of guys get Dagestanians for their UFC debut, but Paddy Pimblett's teammate Paddy Pimblett, Shamrock, got Nurullo Aliyev as his UFC debut, while Paddy got Luigi Vetramini. It goes to show you how much the UFC cared about Paddy Pimblett when he first stepped in those doors. But let's move on. His next fight against Rodrigo Vargas. Rodrigo Vargas, 36 years old. Paddy, 27. It's somebody, for Paddy to just, step on and keep moving. Paddy got the submission. His next fight was against Jordan Levitt. And I'm not going to roast Jordan Levitt because Jordan Levitt is my dog. But it's an okay win. Jordan Levitt's not gonna be a champ in this, in the UFC. It's a good win though. His next fight is probably one of the biggest robberies in the UFC, in the history of the UFC. Jared Gordon got robbed by Paddy Pimblett when we all knew Jared Gordon won that fight. He beat Paddy Pimblett. But Dana White and the UFC must have slipped a couple bucks into those judges' paychecks because Paddy Pimblett ended up winning. And he said, I won. I knew I was going to beat him. And I knew from there on, Paddy Pimblett, the UFC has your back the whole way. I knew it. I knew he was an industry plant. I knew from their point on, yeah, something's up with this guy. And the UFC got so scared, after that little robbery. Oh my God, he almost lost to Jared Gordon. Who do they match Paddy up with next? Tony Ferguson, a guy who was on a 6-fight losing streak before fighting Paddy. A guy who was getting murdered left and right. And the UFC just said, you know what? We'll give him Tony Ferguson. You know, it's a name on his resume, even though he's not the same anymore. Why did Tony Ferguson make that a close fight against Paddy Pimblett? And Paddy couldn't finish Tony Ferguson. Lost by decision. Mind you, in Tony Ferguson's next and final loss in the UFC, he gets submitted by Michael Chiesa. Paddy Pimblett could not submit Tony Ferguson. In the downfall, in the very end of his downfall of his UFC career. That is sad. And guess what? The UFC said, hey, he beat Tony. That's enough to get you a shot in the rankings. Guess who? Number 15, Bobby Green. Who, his win was against Tony Ferguson. So you got two guys coming in there, going up, you know, just finished fighting against Tony Ferguson. I knew, in my head, I picked Bobby Green, and I said, Bobby Green, you have to win this fight. There's no way Paddy Pimblett is going to go out there and beat you. There's no way. I thought Bobby Green was good enough. He wasn't. He shot himself into a guillotine, and yeah, we knew what happened there. But after, you know, beating Bobby Green, being ranked 15, the UFC, you know, I would have thought the UFC, you know what, they got to give him at least a little bit more to see if he's really real like that. I know you like him, but let's see if he's real. No. They give this man Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler. Before that Paddy Pimblett fight, he was 2-4. 2-4, bro. Coming off 2 straight losses to Dustin Poirier and Charles Oliveira. Coming off a 5-round fight against Charles Oliveira. And they just gift Paddy Pimblett, Michael Chandler. Look, Michael Chandler. High ranking, has a good name, on a losing streak. Beat him. This is a gift from us. And Paddy Pimblett did what it needed to go do and finish Michael Chandler, make a name using Michael Chandler. And after that, you know, first of all, Paddy Pimblett has only fought once a year ever since 2022 when he went on that 3-fight win streak. You know, he was on that little 3-fight win streak in 2022. Ever since that, he's fought once a year. You would have thought Paddy would at least fought somebody else, maybe like a Dan Hooker, maybe a Gamrot, Armin, you know, there was beef going on, anybody. But no, the UFC was willing to just give Ilia Topuria, Paddy Pimblett, like that. Paddy, here's your title shot against Ilia Topuria. But oh wait. Ilia's something. I feel like the UFC, they've become such like the WWE, where they just told Ilia, hey, we'll call you up in the summer. We're going to use Paddy Pimblett to build his hype up, get money out of him, create an interim championship fight against Gagey, so Gagey can say, oh, I can't retire. They're giving me the interim shot if I win against Ilia. Paddy Pimblett beats Justin Gagey. Ilia versus Paddy Pimblett at the White House or in Spain. It's sad that this is how Paddy Pimblett gets a title shot, because, man, he's going to lose, and then what's next from there? What happens if he goes on a losing streak where he can't beat the 1 through 5 in the rankings? It's going to be, you know, it's basically what's going to happen with O'Malley. Like, what the real question with O'Malley next? You know, a guy, perfect example of having Dana White privilege, but at least he fought Piotr Jan to get to the belt. But, you know, Sean O'Malley, Dana White privilege. After losing the title, he got Merab back. He just, you know what, we'll just give him a title shot. He only defended the belt once, and it was against Cheeto Vera. And Cheeto, one of the most undeserved title shots if we're going to talk about that. But, yeah, you talk about someone with Dana White privilege. O'Malley lost his belt to Merab, and he immediately got a title shot. So, yeah. Paddy, he's got to be ranked number 1. Ain't no way he's not ranked number 1 of all time fighters with Dana White privileges, man. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section, man, because I just think, you know, what happens to Paddy, what happens to Sean, these guys with Dana White privileges that haven't been built up properly. Okay, what if Sean loses to Song Yadong? Let's just say that. I don't think it's gonna happen, but what if that happens? You know, you're gonna be like, oh man, what's next for Sean? He fights somebody else a little bit lower. He might lose that one. You never know. He might just go on a downfall. And we might have not just expected that. The same thing could happen to Paddy Pimblett. And I think it's more likely to happen to Paddy Pimblett because I think Sean, his striking is good enough to at least take him somewhere in that top 5. Maybe he doesn't have the grappling like that, but his striking, elite. Paddy Pimblett, he does have the grappling, but at lightweight, come on now, everybody can grapple. They're giving you Gagey because they just think Gagey's old. But what if Gagey goes out there and stuffs the takedowns and keeps you up on the feet? Paddy Pimblett's in trouble, folks. Paddy Pimblett is one of the most Dana White privileged fighters of all time. I don't know how many times I have to see that in this video, but he is. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I'm JNAPS MMA. Like and subscribe.